Recently, a friend of mine put me onto Delzathan's channel, where they make videos of how characters might play should they be added to the Smash Bros. Series, among other things. And yet, there's a character I've been wanting in the game for a while that they hadn't actually made a moveset for it. So with that in mind, and an idea for some stuff in my head already, I decided to start working on a concept for it myself. The scope of this video is rather small, as it's a diversion from a bigger video I've been working on, which is slated for Halloween, so don't expect as grandiose a presentation as Delzathan. But I wanted to throw my hat in the ring nonetheless. And who's this character I'm going to be talking about for the next 15 minutes? Well, I'm of course referring to none other than...
Tabuu!
For the uninitiated, here's a quick recap. Tabuu is the leader of the Subspace Army and the final boss of Super Smash Bros. Brawl's story mode, the Subspace Emissary. Despite some of the negative things that can be said about this story mode, it was a big part of my childhood, and many others as well. And yet despite the impact he made on people, all he got in Smash Ultimate's World of Light is a spirit fight. I'm not even asking for him to have had a role in the story or anything, but I'm eternally salty that they brought back Gallium as a boss fight, and yet the final boss was left out to dry. I've actually wanted a Smash original character to be playable for a while, and there's a cool moveset archetype you can do, more on this later, that Tabuu always felt like he'd be a solid candidate for. The subspace enemies like Pyramids and Nagagobes appear as common enemies and those aren't unique enough. Like, come on, can you even imagine a generic enemy from a game being added to Smash as a playable character? And as for characters with major roles in the games, there's not a lot to choose from. Entities like Master Hand or Galeem lack any real body and would be too awkward to fight as, novelty aside. Meanwhile, Buon and Gallium were too big to be able to move around with, and Giga Bowser was reinstated as Bowser's final Smash. So aside from making up an OC to add, Tabuu is the only option left for consideration. His humanoid figure means there won't be any issues crafting a moveset, and he's already an established character within the Smash series, so there wouldn't even be anyone upset that the choice got snuffed for an OC. Well, that happens regardless, but there wouldn't be an exorbitant amount. And why does Smash need an original character to be playable? Well, it doesn't. This is my video, and I think he's cool, so I'm gonna pretend it does. His design would match that of his boss fight with minimal changes, and while I don't have any visual recolors to throw on screen, I have some ideas to base them on. Firstly, a magenta color inspired by the wireframes from Melee. Secondly, a purple color based on the subspace aesthetic, the portals, the shadow bugs, etc. A reddish-orange color based on the Brawl logo is another simple one you can toss in. A white color based on Master Hand would be neat, and as an added touch, you could even recolor the wings to reference Galeem, one of the main antagonists of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate story mode, the World of Light. You could also give him a gold color based on Tabuu's chain and the energy cage he can turn into when he's fighting. Another idea for an outfit is a yellowish-brown one based on the trophy stand, an item that only appears in the subspace game mode. And finally, a green outfit based on the Matrix. With Tabuu's design having a digital aesthetic, the comparison fits, and it doubles over as being a primary color for doubles. I envision his size to be adjusted to that of Snake or Ganon, with very floaty gravity and a Mewtwo or Sora-esque double jump. This would reflect his boss fight where he's always in the air. However, he'd also be very heavy and durable, making him as hard to KO as you'd expect a playable final boss to be. And along with this playable final boss philosophy, his special moves would be slow and avoidable, but also very strong and capable of controlling a lot of space. As for his posture, his idle animation already feels unique with his arms crossed, and I can easily see him going into and out of that for his attacks. But before you even get to his moveset, there's something else we have to address. Generally, videos like these will start with the normal attacks. You know, the jab, the aerials, the smashes. However, I'm actually going to save that for last. Why? Two reasons. The first is that section is actually the juicy and fun part of this moveset concept, and so I want to save that for the end. But even that aside, it's Tabuu. You tell anyone Tabuu is going to be playable in Smash and you need help designing moves for him, the first thing they're going to tell you is his final Smash. I'm not exaggerating when I say that Tabuu has exactly one attack with far more significance than the rest, and that his moveset would need to include. And wouldn't you know it, this move just so happens to be perfect as a final Smash as well. And this move is, of course, the off waves. And if you thought a different move should be the final Smash, then you're respectfully wrong. Not only is this Tabuu's signature attack within his boss fight, but this is also the move he used to turn the entirety of Brawl's cast, save for Sonic and the post-game characters, into trophies. At once. So here's how the move works and how I'm going to tweak it. Tabuu teleports to the background of the screen and unfolds his wings. He then produces 3 red rings that he shoots at the stage. These rings encompass the entire stage, and can only be avoided by sidestepping, air dodging, or dodge rolling with the correct timing. You can't even block them. Fail to do so for any of these, and you'll be sent far off stage, usually outright KOing you. In the boss fight, at least. While I can see this still being a strong option within the context of a free-for-all, where it can be hard to focus on avoiding due to the chaos of the fight, I can't actually see this doing a whole lot in a 1v1 environment. and yet the sheer KO power of the attack being able to close stocks out sub 30% if any of the rings connect, and doing over 70% on hit even if you don't get KO'd by it, is also a lot. So I would give this a small rework where Tabuu can adjust the speed and timing of the rings he fires in exchange for far reduced lethality. The rings can deal around 30% each, while not KOing until around 80%, depending on stage positioning, character weight, and any other factors. So that's his final smash, but what else would he have? Well, now we can get into his specials. Remember when I said his specials would be slow but big and strong? Well, his neutral special, Tabuu Fire, was the specific move I had in mind when I said this. For Tabuu Fire, Tabuu picks 5 locations which will immediately flash with staggered timing the further away they get, and then explode a second or two later. The player would have 5 patterns they can pick from as they use this attack as well. Holding neutral after pressing the button would send the explosions in a straight line. Holding up or down would alter the flames respectively, allowing you to control more space with them. Additionally, holding back will cause the explosions to cluster in front of you, and holding forward will cluster the explosions towards the end of the attack's range. These different patterns allow you to control more space with the move. However, its slow activation time and high end lag means that you have to be clever about when you use it, and especially when you don't use it, because opponents will be able to react accordingly when you do. It's imperative that you learn the different patterns to master the threat zone you control and to keep the opponent on their feet. As for his forward special, I'm going with Chain Throw. He thrusts his golden chain forward, grabbing anyone it hits. After getting grabbed, he twirls you around himself and then slams you on the ground, potentially KOing you in the process. And also, as a command grab, this attack cannot be blocked. In the air it would still grab you, but with no immediate ground to throw you onto, the air version wouldn't be as strong. And of course, this move would be able to tether onto the stage. His up special is going to be a bit tricky. I find the idea of giving him a teleport to be pretty lazy and uninspired, so I'm going to omit those options, but they do exist nonetheless. My personal pick is Tabuu Charge. He turns his arm into a blade and swings downward in a parabola, and rises back up on the other side. But where things get tricky is the fact that you don't want a recovery move that always goes downward initially. How are you going to use that if you're already near the blast zone? So my idea is to take a page out of Sephiroth's move. If you tap the button, you get a quick uppercut of sorts, based on the second half of the attack. However, hold the button, and you'll get the traditional version with higher attack power and overall more recovery height by the end of it. One is quick that you can use if you're worried about being countered, while the other is slower but with far superior recovery options. It could even ride up walls, like on Kalos. Also note that the horizontal distance, while still good, would kneel in comparison to the version the boss used. And finally, the down special, Tabuu Shot. If Tabuu is on the ground, he'll teleport upward and then start shooting a bunch of bullets from his hand downward at about a 45-degree angle. The player can control the general trajectory of these shots, similar to NPK Starstorm. And the longer you hold the button, the longer Tabuu will shoot. However, the longer you shoot, the weaker and slower the projectiles will become, reminiscent of Bowser's Fire Breath. Once you let go of the B button, Tabuu will stop shooting the barrage and immediately fire off his explosive shot, dealing high knockback and potentially KOing anyone caught in the explosion. When used in the air, the move plays out as normal, but he immediately starts shooting. No teleport. Now it's time for the throws, but I want to preface something first. While they will be massively toned down for obvious reasons, I will be referencing boss moves for these as well. I understand the desire to not oversaturate a character's moveset with as many references as you can, but I'd rather craft moves myself instead of leaving general ideas for someone else to fill in the blanks. I'm making a moveset of the character I want to see in the game. I feel it's my responsibility to try to fill out as many of the boxes as I can. If you'd rather replace the throws with generic up throws, down throws, forward throws, and back throws for your own ideas and headcanons, then please do so. I just lack creativity for this section. With that said, Tabuu would have a normal grab, similar in size and frame to Ganondorf or Kazuya. After grabbing you, he'd be able to pummel you with Tabuu Smash, sloshing the air around you, and though the initial windup would be noticeable, the damage dealt would be nothing to scoff at. And we'll get the obvious throw out of the way first. Movement throw. Tabuu turns into a gold energy cage with you inside, rises up slowly, and then slams you onto the ground. This would easily be his strongest kill throw, and possibly his strongest kill option outright, depending on how easy it is to land any of his specials. For his forward throw, he performs Shadow Laser. He holds you in front of him and pulls out a miniature dragon head. From it, he shoots a ground-level laser beam, launching you straight ahead at a very low angle. And again, the laser wouldn't be nearly as large or active as the boss version, so people not caught in the throw wouldn't need to worry about getting hit by it. Not any more than that of any other throw, anyway. His down throw will be a modified version of the eye laser attack. While he won't turn gigantic, he'll still shoot lasers out of his eyes, and the lasers will press you against the ground and drag you to the edge of the stage. While it would never KO outright, it would always end with you being knocked off stage, and that's in a very precarious situation. Now, his back throw is tricky, because none of his boss attacks have him facing backwards. With that in mind, I'm going to make this a modified version of the chain throw. But instead of swinging you around his head, he'll just hit you a few character lengths away from himself, grabbing you with the chain in the process, and then giving you an overhead yeet. Very similar to DK's back throw, if you would. Before we get to the base of his moveset, let's go over his taunts. The first one I'd pitch is a taunt where he creates an orb of one of the Great Maze Runes, like he does in his introduction. However, it would only be one orb. It would hover around him for a second and then float off screen. And as an added bonus, it could even reference each of the other levels from the Subspace Emissary. Maybe one time it'll give you the Mid-Air Fortress. Use it again and you get the Research Facility. or the plains, or the Sea of Clouds. For another taunt, he could teleport around the screen once or twice before teleporting back to his original position. I recognize that this might be a bit much for a taunt, but as long as the timing of it is always consistent and the teleports don't have hitboxes, I think it's fine. If he always returns to his original position on the exact same frame, and especially if there's a brief intermission before he's actionable again, then you can just charge a smash attack for him to return to. Can't use it to avoid an attack if it'll place you in front of an even stronger one, right? And for that exact reason, this taunt would have the unique property that cannot be cancelled out of prematurely. That leaves one more taunt. For this one, he opens a small hole into the background, revealing the subspace realm behind him. He then closes it and resumes a fighting stance. A small taste of what's to come, perhaps? And the last thing I want to get to before I discuss the juice of his design is the dash attack, Blade Charge. He would retain the initial parts of his dashing momentum as he transforms into a shark head, rapidly slowing momentum until he stops. Once he stops, he will then burst forward a few character lengths, hitting anyone in his path. This attack would work well as another KO option and a great spot dodge or air dodge punish. I see it being similar in effect to Link's dash attack. Actually, have you ever seen a shield out Shulk use dash attack and smash forward? I see the sudden burst of speed with the hitbox functioning fairly similar to that, although Shulk's dash attack didn't KO. And now, with all that behind us, it's time we talk about the gimmick of this character. An archetype I've seen across a few fighting games is that of a final boss whose attacks all come from the rest of the cast. The most obvious example to me is Seth from the Street Fighter series, but Double from Skullgirls also comes to mind. Maybe Android 21 from Dragon Ball FighterZ. And if you want to be technical, this could also apply to certain player characters and avatars. This archetype was always cool to me, and I find it sad that even with over 80 characters in the game, Smash doesn't actually have its own version. You could say the Mii's, and you'd be right to an extent, but I don't think they really fit. Sure, you have Gunner with Samus Charge Shot or Missiles, Brawler with Falcon Punch or Foot Kick, and Sword Fighter with Hero Spin or Falcon Kick, but honestly, the rest of their movesets feel so original that it doesn't quite feel the same. What character does Mii Gunner's up there come from? Or Sword Fighter's forward air? See what I mean? Even some of their specials are unique, most notably Brawler's Shot Put and Suplex. Now here's where it gets interesting. I've left exactly 12 attacks still to list a move for: Jab, the 3 tilts, the 3 smashes, and the 5 aerials. Wait, 12? Why does that number feel familiar? That's because each of these moves will come from one character of the original Smash Titles roster: Mario, Donkey Kong, Link, Samus, Yoshi, Kirby, Fox, Pikachu, Luigi, Captain Falcon, Ness, and Jigglypuff, with the goal of providing unique moves to round out Tabuu's moveset. Because for as cool as the specials are, I don't see them being too practical in an actual 1v1 match on their own. I just don't. This idea of copying moves from the rest of the roster actually works out in lore as well. According to the wiki, Tabuu is able to grow his own power as he brings various lands into his domain. While I wouldn't personally go the extra mile that Double does of having him turn into the character he's mimicking, I don't think it's a stretch at all to suggest that he'd be able to copy other characters' techniques through the same means. And with that in mind, let's get into his normal attacks, with the parameters that each move will come from a different character to the 64 cast, and that it will be Tabuu himself performing these attacks. Let's assign some moves. Maybe you can guess this already, but some characters will lend themselves to this far better than others. For instance, you'd be able to take almost any of Falcon's or Samus's moves, whereas smaller characters like Kirby or Pikachu are a bit more challenging. For his jab, I'm going to use Donkey Kong. DK's jab is a very simple 1-2 hit. While maybe on the slower side, the first hit has a strong vacuum hitbox that can pull people in for combos, and if you want to hit them back out to play keep away, the second hit has you covered. For his forward tilt, he'll be borrowing Yoshi's. The utility of this move would be that it's a quick combo starter that comes out really fast, especially good to use out of parry. And while Tabuu himself doesn't have a tail, I think he can pull his trusty chain back out and swing it in the same motion Yoshi's tail does. Maybe he even gets more range from it. Actually, on that note, let's talk about his up tilt now, Link. He swings the chain over his head as a quick but respectable anti-air and spacing tool. It can even juggle. And for his down tilt, he'll gain Kirby's. While not as good of a combo tool as forward tilt, this is still an insanely fast and safe poke that can combo into grab, or even said forward tilt with the right positioning. Next, his smash attacks, and firstly, we're bringing back a classic, the People's Elbow, aka Falcon's forward smash in Melee. I actually don't care if it's the Melee version, the Ultimate version, but it was changed going into Ultimate and I never got why. The elbow always felt iconic to me, and it's not like the new version is substantially different. So take your pick on which one you want it to be, but I'm going with the elbow.
And befitting what you'd expect of a move that has a colloquial name, this is the strongest KO option Tabuu would have.
But it's also among the slowest. Only use it when you have a really strong read that you want to execute on. Next we have his up smash, that of Samus Aran. Similar to up tilt, this is mostly just a strong anti-air option, however as a smash attack it's stronger and has more active frames. That said, it's very laggy and will only hit people above you to compensate, so you'll want to use this one deliberately as well. And in terms of visual appeal, you could even replace the explosions with some subspace effects. So with 2 smash attacks that are slower and more specific, let's give him one that you can use a bit more aggressively, Mario's down smash. With a quick kick forward, followed by him swinging his legs backwards, this is a fairly safe attack as far as smash attacks go, while also hitting on both sides. But while its power is nothing to scoff at, it's easily the weakest of the 3. And last but not least, we have his aerials. Firstly, neutral air, that of Pikachu. He curls his limbs inward and begins to shoot electricity outwards as he falls. And while the attack itself would be very reminiscent of Pikachu, complete with drag down combos into his grab or tilts, I think you could model the effect off of Tabuu's discharge attack as one final homage to his boss fight. For his forward aerial, he gains Luigi's karate chop. This will be his quickest aerial in terms of in-lag. Feel free to mash it if you need to get someone off of you or to end a combo. Conversely, his back aerial, that of Jigglypuff, will be a great spacing tool to pressure people you want to stay away. He probably swings his chain rather than going for a kick as visual distinction, but the mechanical side of the attack would remain faithful to the original. For his down aerial, he'd gain Fox's drill. I tried to avoid giving him multi-hit aerials so as not to have them feel redundant next to Pikachu, but Fox drill can actually combo into other attacks without relying on drag downs. And yet, his up air is also a multi-hit, specifically Ness's. It was tough to find up airs that I could happily see Tabuu doing, but I think Ness's is a strong fit. It's also a vertical KO option, something the rest of his kit has been sorely lacking. Similar to Samus's up smash, you could even replace the PSI effects with some subspace stuff for visual flair. So that's my idea for how Tabuu might look as a playable character in Smash Bros. What did you think? I've wanted him to make it into the game for a while now, and he's even been my most wanted since Pyro and Mythra got in. I even have a keychain of his lobby token. And with Xeno's chances of getting into the next game having skyrocketed as a result of Mario RPG's soon-to-release port, I wanted to make this video before my fascination in new characters shifts Tabuu out of the spotlight. Regarding the final moveset, one idea I had was to give him a sex kick, the archetype of neutral air that a majority of the cast used to have in the older games, including every character in 64. But then it would have needed to replace his dash attack or something else, and I think Pikachu neutral air is a strong fit here anyway. Another idea I had was for one of his taunts to give him a random taunt out of the rest of the roster, as one final nod to the archetype I designed him around, but that idea wound up being too much effort and with easier, arguably better alternatives elsewhere. I don't want to box myself into this subsection of the content sphere too hard, so I probably won't make another video like this for a while, but I have a few other ideas in the same vein that might pop up on the feed next year. As for other projects, I'm working on a big Halloween video, as mentioned earlier, and I'll be streaming Resident Evil 4 Remake throughout this month on this very channel. While I don't know what the immediate future is going to look like beyond these, I have some other ideas I'd like to put work into late December or early January, once my schedule opens back up. This year's been very busy for me, but I'm excited for what the future holds once I make it to the other side. But for now, I still have a lot of work to do. Be sure to hit the subscribe button if you're interested in anything I've teased, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Big thank you to Delsathan for inspiring this video, and thanks to you for watching. Have a wonderful day, night, or whatever else is applicable. Ciao!